Moving on to movies and money, the Toronto Film Festival is in its 50th edition. Our critic, Erik Childress, founder of the Movie Madness podcast, is on location for us. Erik, what are some of the films getting the most attention?
Well, those with a Netflix account can see a couple of them in the next few months. On October 17th, Guillermo del Toro unleashes the film it seems he has been building up towards his whole career, and that is Frankenstein. Now, who hasn't seen some version of the story over time, but del Toro takes a few liberties and makes it his own with Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein and Jacob Elordi as his creation. It takes a while for that life to begin in the gorgeous-looking film, but once it does, the back half of this film really finds its footing with Elordi giving a fantastic, empathetic performance as the creature that may be the character's best incarnation to date. Then Daniel Craig is back as Benoit Blanc in Rian Johnson's Wake Up Dead Man, the third and perhaps best of his Knives Out series. This time he helps a young priest who may be the chief suspect in the murder in question. It's a whole new slew of suspects and a great cast including Josh O'Connor, Josh Brolin, Glenn Close, Andrew Scott, Jeremy Renner, and many others. This is not just the best of the series, but it's one of the very best screenplays of the year, making it one of the best films of the year. Now, dare I reveal too much, but even beyond putting on your own sleuth hat, this is a film that charges into questions of faith, logic, politics, false prophets, and those who blindly follow them, even when they know they are in the wrong. It's a lot to chew on in what is also a very funny film. Wake Up Dead Man is my favorite film of the festival.
Every film festival, you return with some fresh discoveries. Which films are you hoping might get picked up for wide distribution from this year's Toronto Film Festival?
Well, it's a pair of crime thrillers that I think really shone through for me. Now, the first, Carolina Caroline, comes from the director of the cult film Dinner in America, and it stars Samara Weaving as a small-town girl who falls in love with a petty con artist and thief played by Kyle Gallner. It's a familiar story that goes back to classics like Gun Crazy, Bonnie and Clyde, and Badlands, but the fact that I would even evoke those names instead of the hundreds of dime a dozen copycats shows you how much I appreciated it, thanks in part to the two very strong performances at its center and a script with real spark. The other is a film called Tuner, which I'm not quite as high on as some, but it is certainly a solid thriller with Leo Woodall as a piano tuner with ultra-sensitive hearing that allows him also the ability to figure out safe combinations. He gets involved with the wrong crowd, makes some money, and has to wiggle his way out. Now, both of these films may have familiar roots, but the filmmakers have mined some fresh takes out of both of them.
It's that time of the year when people start talking awards season. What titles do you think will be in that conversation?
Well, amongst the films I saw in Toronto, I would put the most focus on Hamnet. This is a new film from Chloe Zhao, who won Oscars for Nomadland a few years ago, including Best Director. She will very much be in the conversation again with this adaptation of the book about a tragedy in the lives of William Shakespeare and his wife Anne that ultimately inspires him to write perhaps his greatest play. Paul Mescal as Shakespeare, and he is great, but Jessie Buckley should be very high on everyone's list for her heartbreaking performance as Anne. It could be her year in a film whose final scenes are a legitimate hanky-grabber. It's a terrific film. On the flip side, there were a pair of sports biopics drawing attention for the transformations of their lead performances. Sydney Sweeney in Christie and Dwayne Johnson in The Smashing Machine. Now, she plays boxer Christy Martin and him, UFC fighter Mark Kerr. Sweeney is fine in her film, but Oscar buzz is overblown as the film itself is all surface and no insight, making for a typical biopic experience. The Smashing Machine, on the other hand, doesn't even rise to bland, as it is an aimless recap of life events with no arc and barely a story to tell. I think both of these pre-buzzed performances are going to come up empty the time awards season starts naming names.
Thanks, Erik. Enjoy and safe travels.
Thank you, Angie.